Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to start a new lecture series. This will be termed as literature. Not English literature because it will contain quite a sprinkling of some lectures on Urdu literature as well. But the main focus of course will remain on English literature. First of all, we shall talk about what literature is. What is the definition of literature? Literature is widely defined as representation of life in the form of words. William Henry Hudson, in his book An Introduction to the Study of Literature, defines literature as interpretation of life. Interpretation can also be regarded as a synonym for explanation. Explanation can be different in the case of every person. Every person views life from his own viewpoints, from his own spectacles of his ideas and opinions. So the beauty of literature remains in the fact that it provides us a variegated view of life, viewed from the eyes of different people, of different viewpoints, of different bent of mind. At this point of the lecture, I would like to ask a question from the people who have background of English literature or any other literature of any other language. Why is it necessary to study literature? What do we gain from the study of literature? Why to study literature? Pause the video and think about it, and then I shall give my opinion. Remember this will be my opinion, not a fact. Nothing is universal, nothing is perfect. You can oppose it, you can go against it, you can raise allegations against it. Because it's my opinion, it is not a universal fact. To me, if we study the history of any civilization, that history will only provide us what of an event, where of an event, what happened, and when that event happened. Why some war was fought, why the blood was shed. Why is usually answered by literature. If we study literature of any civilization at any time, at any era, of any epoch, it will provide us a vent into thinking of the people of that era, of that age. So in order to completely understand what actually was going on behind the scene of events, it is necessary to study literature of their civilization. What really people thought, what they felt, and what were their emotions. All these things are revealed by nothing else but literature. Today, as a sample, I shall be sharing with you a masterpiece of a master writer, a writer that is undoubtedly the greatest of all times, the greatest dramatist, the greatest poet, William Shakespeare. The name of this masterpiece is Hamlet. It is a play written by William Shakespeare around 1600 AD, more than 400 years ago. It was an age that falls in the era of Renaissance. The Renaissance was the rebirth of knowledge, a revisiting of old concepts, a revisiting of old ideologies. Everything had been changed or was changing. Minds of people were oscillating whether to accept the new ideas or to cling to the old ones. How to accept something that had never been brought before them. All these things are characterized beautifully in this masterpiece, Hamlet. This is a short introduction to this masterpiece in order to motivate the viewers to read this masterpiece by themselves and enjoy it. Who's there? Whispered in the dark, this question begins a tale of conspiracy, deception, and moral ambiguity. In a play where everyone has something to hide, its answer is far from simple. Written by William Shakespeare between 1599 and 1601, Hamlet depicts a character haunted by the past but immobilized by the future. Mere months after the sudden death of his father, Hamlet returns from school a stranger to his own home and deeply unsure of what might be lurking in the shadows. But his brooding takes a turn when he is visited by the ghost that bears his father's face. The phantom claims to be the victim of a murder most foul, and convinces Hamlet that his uncle usurped the throne and stole Queen Gertrude's heart. The prince's mourning turns to rage, and he begins to plot his revenge on the new king and his court of conspirators. The play is an odd sort of tragedy, lacking in either the abrupt brutality or all-consuming romance that characterized Shakespeare's other work in the genre. Instead, it plumbs the depth of his protagonist's indecisiveness and tragic consequences thereof. The ghost's revelation draws Hamlet into multiple dilemmas. What should he do? Whom can he trust? And what role must he play in the course of justice? These questions are complicated by a tangled web of characters, forcing Hamlet to negotiate friends, family, court counselors, and love interests, many of whom possess ulterior motives. The prince constantly delays and dithers of how to relate to others and how he should carry out revenge. This can make Hamlet more than a little exasperating. It also makes him one of the most human characters Shakespeare ever created. Rather than rushing into things, he becomes consumed with the awful machination of thinking itself. And over the course of the play, his endless questions come to echo throughout our own racing minds. To accomplish this, Shakespeare employs his most introspective language, from the usurping king's blazing contemplation of heaven and hell to the prince's own cackling meditation on mortality. Shakespeare uses melancholic monologues to breathtaking effect. This is perhaps best exemplified in Hamlet's most famous declaration of angst. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing anything. This monologue personifies Hamlet's existential dilemma, being torn between thought and action, unable to choose between life and death. But his endless questioning raises yet another anxiety. Is Hamlet's madness part of the performance to confuse his enemies, or are we watching a character on the brink of insanity? These questions weigh heavily on Hamlet's interactions with every character, and since he spends much of his play facing inward, he often fails to see the destruction left in his wake. He is particularly cruel to Ophelia. His doomed love interest was brought to madness by the prince's erratic behavior. Her fate is one example of how tragedy could have been easily avoided, and shows the ripple effect of Hamlet's toxic mind games. Similar warning signs of tragedy are constantly overlooked throughout the play. Sometimes these oversights occur because of willful blindness, such as when Ophelia's father dismisses Hamlet's alarming actions as mere lovesickness. At other points, tragedy stems from deliberate duplicity, as one case of mistaken identity leads to yet more bloodshed. These moments leave us with the uncomfortable knowledge that the tragedy evolves from human error, even if our mistake is to leave things undecided. For all these reasons, perhaps the one thing we never doubt is Hamlet's humanity. But we must constantly grapple with who the real Hamlet might be. Is he a noble son avenging his father, or a mad prince creating courtly chaos? Should he act or observe, doubt or trust? Who is he? Why is he here? And who is out there, waiting in the dark? So viewers, this was a bird's eye view of masterpiece of literature written in any language of the world. I hope you like it, and if you have any opinion to share about this lecture, please write it in comment section. Till next lecture, Allah Hafiz.